think you have a charter right to get released after 24 offences while you're already on probation and shoot a police officer in the stomach. I'm more worried about the charter rights of the police officer who's recovering from the gunshot.
Here, here.
Here, here. This is what the police officer said. Almost everyone we arrest is out on bail. No one stays in jail where they belong. The city and the feds just don't care. It just doesn't bother them. It doesn't matter how many die and if a cop gets shot.
That's right.
What's wrong with you people?
Here, here. Good answer. Good answer, man.
I'd like to remind the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, as well as all members of Parliament, that all questions and answers should be directed through the Chair. The Honourable Minister of Justice and Attorney General.
Mr. Speaker, when the men and women in uniform in my city of Toronto or right across the country are harmed in the course of their work, they deserve our absolute respect and solidarity, which we always provide to them. In terms of decisions that are made about bail, these are important considerations. They're considerations where we've made amendments to the bail regime. What happens after amendments are made at the federal parliament is that the ball turns over to the provinces. We need to ask genuine questions about who's making decisions about granting or denying bail. Provincially appointed JPs. About provincial crowns who are making decisions about whether to review bail and what kind of conditions to impose. Those are questions that need to be asked because we need...
Cut him off.
The Honourable Member from Wellington, Halton Hills.
Mr. Speaker, the bad news keeps rolling in from credible financial experts. This week's Economist, quote, were Canada's 10 provinces and 3 territories an American state, they would have gone from being slightly richer than Montana, America's 9th poorest state, to being a bit worse off than Alabama, the 4th poorest. Alabama. To fix a problem, one has to admit that it exists. Will the government admit that under its policies, Canada is now poorer than Alabama, America's 4th poorest state?
That's a good question.
The Honourable Minister for Digital Services.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives are very particular about what statistics they choose to share. If they want to share, compare Canada to the U.S.
The Honourable Minister from Digital Services can start again from the top.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives are very careful about the statistics they choose to share. If they want to compare us to the United States, we might start with health care or dental care or farmer care or child care. But if they want to focus on the economy, they might focus on the fact that we have a lower deficit, that we have lower debt servicing costs, that we pay a lower interest rates than America does, that we have higher forecast economic growth. The unfortunate thing is because of the dangerous promises of the Leader of the Opposition, they don't want Canadians to hear about that, which is why they're promising to cancel the CBC.
The Honourable Member from Wellington.
That's awesome.
The Honourable Member from Wellington, Halton Hills.
Mr. Speaker, this data, these statistics aren't coming from Conservatives. They're coming from credible financial experts at the Financial Times of London and The Economist, 2 organizations for which the Finance Minister once worked, and surely the government isn't suggesting these organizations are biased. Again, to fix a problem, one has to admit that it exists. Will the government admit that under its spending, its budgets, its plans, Canada is now poorer than Alabama, America's 4th poorest state?
The Honourable Minister for Digital Services.
Of course not, Mr. Speaker. What the member opposite is saying is ridiculous. The truth is that the Leader of the Opposition offers Canadians no viable solutions. On housing, they want to add 5%.
Just completely mute him. Don't even give him the floor back again. Come on.
Sit down, the Speaker's going to talk.
The Honourable Minister for Digital Services from the top, please.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. They don't want to hear this information. The truth is the Leader of the Opposition offers no solutions for Canadians. On housing, he wants to add 5% tax on apartment construction. On affordability, doesn't support dental care, doesn't support pharmacare, doesn't support childcare. He doesn't support the tax cuts that we gave for the middle class, doesn't support the tax cuts we gave for small business, and worst of all, is he doesn't want anybody to hear about this, which is why he wants to cancel the CBC and take that away from Canadians as well.
The honourable member from Simcoe North.
Mr. Speaker, the Financial Times wrote 1 year ago, if current trends continue, Canadian living standards would continue to decline. It's been a year and it's gotten worse. This week, The Economist said that Canada is now poorer than Alabama. Will any minister over there admit that Canadian living standards are in decline?
The honourable...
Why is Mark Holland getting up? Minister of Health. Here we
The
go.
Honourable
Get
Minister
bow tie.
of Health.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite is now the second member to admire Alabama and say that Alabama is doing better than Canada. I think Canada's the greatest nation on earth. Exactly. And I think that I'm really proud of this country and what we're doing. I'm proud of our healthcare system, Mr. Speaker. And when you take a look at the Conservatives are filibustering in committee right now a study of privatizing healthcare, no wonder they have an admiration of the American model, because they want to clear-cut our healthcare system. They won't. You talk about not acknowledging a problem. They have no solutions for the gaps that we have in care. We do. We're delivering. We're going to keep doing it.
They're delivering us a begging. You know what?
The honourable member from Simcoe North.
Mr. Speaker, that minister wants Canadians to believe that they've never had it so good. But here's what Canadians are actually experiencing. The worst housing inflation, the worst mortgage debt, the worst consumer debt in the G7. Income per person today is lower than it was 10 years ago. And now the OECD says Canada real GDP growth will be last among its member nations until 2060. So will they finally admit that under their leadership, Canadian living standards are declining?